Hey guys, welcome back to the Sentinel 400 TV restoration project. In this installment, we are going to quickly go through and recap the chassis, hook them back up, and try powering the setup for the first time. I'm just about done working on the upper chassis, recapping, just proceeded as usual. Got some nice new old stock Sprague 0.0047 6000 volt caps for the vertical and some ASC caps for the horizontal. Those electrolytics I mounted down below. Just found really convenient mounting points on existing terminal strip up here. Remove the seleniums down here and install the terminal strip. I increased this resistor slightly. I might have to play around with that to get the B plus to be in line with what I want it to be. A few more high voltage resistors to replace. I'm taking a break from that to work inside the high voltage box. Took the cover off and discovered there are some caps hiding down below. There's a little bit of slack on the wires going up into this little sub chassis, but not enough you can really get in there, so I need to carefully disconnect them and keep track of what goes where. Start out with removing these two because they're the easiest to get at and see how much that gets me. I really hope I don't have to disconnect everything, especially the high voltage leads going to it, but I'll do whatever I gotta do to get in there. So it definitely needs to get worked on. Well, I ended up removing all the wires and completely isolating it. Really, it's what you need to do the job properly. So here she is, and it's kind of weird. Also notice that the helicopter's in the background, and yeah, I'm working on both electrostatic sets at the same time. They are definitely very different designs. Alright, so underneath, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paper caps, including this crusty mess. So why did they wrap friction tape around it? I'm guessing that was a tacked-in replacement because it just broke loose. Let's see how the other end is. Yeah, it's a mess. You know what? I'm just going to clip that out of the circuit entirely right now. I'm sure it's not original. Now, I happen to have the airline version of this. I was just looking at some reference photos. I saved that from a basement in Chicago, and it's rough. It's missing the box that goes over this high voltage cage. And in particular, I was looking at this because I wanted to compare and contrast. I can definitely see that my other one is missing some stuff. In particular, this. I was trying to see on my photo, is that original? What is that mess? It looks like a piece of melted candy or something, right? Well, I traced this out. Here's the high voltage lead that goes to the rest of the set. Now, there's supposed to be a filter capacitor for that, so I was expecting to see a big old high voltage cap down in here somewhere, and I wasn't. Well, what this white wire goes to, and it goes to that. And that goes to the rectified high voltage. So inside this blob, which is loosely on here, and just a mess. I knew there's a resistor in here, and there should be two caps. If you look on the schematic, it is that, which is two 350 picofarad caps and a 100K resistor. On mine it's kind of butchered up, and somebody put a 100K resistor on there, and there's a couple newer ceramic disc caps, so in other words they replace what was originally there. I think that's what I'm going to do here. Now, I've noticed some other stuff, in particular the high voltage divider network of resistors has this black coating. I thought at first it might be a newer repair and somebody put a liquid electrical tape on it. But now I'm thinking no, that is original. And thank goodness, when you heat it up, it's not that bad. It just kind of melts like wax. Liquid electrical tape, when you have to rework a joint with a soldering iron, is nasty. It produces nasty fumes. I really don't recommend you use that. So why do they put that on this, and why do they put it on some of the other points of high voltage? To prevent corona discharge, to prevent arcing. It's an insulator. Use something modern like Corona dope. That just a nice thin layer. It's similar to lacquer, and it dries very quickly and doesn't make this black gooey sticky mess. Anyway, so I am just going to remove that and dissolve this off with lacquer thinner maybe, and put something new on there. It's a bit more robust than other high voltage coils. I think I might have a spare one handy we can take a look at. But at any rate, yeah, to get at these caps and to rework it properly, you really have to get down in there and get after them. Alright, I pulled out some high voltage coils from other sets. This is the type you would see in a Motorola VT71 or Admiral 19A1 type set. As you can see, it's quite a bit smaller, less robust. Now, to be fair, this circuit is not just for high voltage. It also produces a secondary high voltage, 760 volts or so, to drive the horizontal deflection circuitry. I think that's what these beefier windings might be for. This is another type of insulating material, red varnish, I think they call this, something like that. And somebody went a little happy with coating this one. And here's yet another variant. I forget what set this came from. So yeah, that's why it surprised me when I first saw it. Thinking, well, that is a pretty chunky RF power supply. Alright, so I will get to replacing all those paper caps and the high voltage filter and then reinstall it. I'm working on the lower chassis now, the one that has the tuner and the power transformer. Nothing too exciting so far. I've just been replacing the paper caps. Other than the new ones are so much smaller than the old ones, it's really opened things up. Right now I'm working on replacing the selenium and 3-section electrolytic cap right next to it. Selenium goes to this candome resistor that has 3 lugs attached to it, and each of those goes to one of the caps. It's here in the schematic. Pretty simple. So I get asked all the time about do you add a resistor or increase the resistor to a selenium rectifier? Yeah, I will a little bit. It had a 33. I'm going to throw a 39 in there. I don't want to go too crazy until I start measuring some voltages. Also, keep in mind, the larger the resistor you put in there, the hotter it's going to get. And heat's never a good thing with electronics, so let's do a modest increase. Also, I'm going to put 2 diodes in series. Partly paranoia, so if one diode shorts, the other one will still do its thing. But also, the more diodes you add, the more of a drop they have. Yeah, it's only 0.7 volts, but it's something. It's something. It all adds up. Also, there were a couple interesting looking caps right off that power connector. These guys. Turns out they're Sprague 0.01 microfarad 220 volt AC rated. They were going from either side of the AC line to the chassis. I'm going to replace them with these guys. Rated for, well, both X or Y usage, so either right across the line or from the line to ground. A few more paper caps to replace on that. Still have some work to do on the high voltage box. But we're getting pretty close to being able to try powering this up for the first time. Just finished recapping and cleaning up the lower chassis, and I figured I'd check the tubes before I try powering it up, and I'm glad I did, because one of them, I've never seen this before, but one of them, the 6AU6, one of the pins just fell right off. Right here. It was corroded all the way through. or something, and it just fell right off. I'm glad it didn't get stuck in the socket. Anyways, got to replace that one. But something else. So when I first got this and did a triage, I was trying to identify, was this the early version or the revised version? The tube chart indicated it at 12AT7 in the tuner, which would mean it was an early revision. But guess what? That's not what's in here. Had a 6C4. This is a later revision, and I noticed that as I was working on it, that not everything, but generally speaking, what I saw matched the revised schematic, not the early schematic. So this is actually not the early version. It's the later version. I don't know how many actual production runs or tweaks they made, but I did find a few subtle differences in the service info. But I muddled my way through it. I think we're pretty good to go. So we have the main lower chassis finished recapping the high voltage box, and there's the upper chassis. Right now I'm going to chuck all the tubes, obviously replace the one broken one, then get all the chassis up here on the workbench, reassemble them, and we're going to try power up. Did well with the tubes. Aside from the one with the busted off pin, just one weak 6AG5, otherwise they all test fine. There's another issue though, missing a bunch of shields. We have a shield on the 6C4 local oscillator, but all the IF tube shields are missing. At least I presume these 4 tubes in the middle should have shields. They certainly have a base for them. I scavenge shields when I can, but I don't have 4 matched of that type, so I went hunting on eBay and found a guy selling 18 of them just out of the blue, and they're not all rusted up, so we got lucky with that. These simply snap down like so. Alright, so I'm going to repopulate this chassis and then get the other one up here and hook them together. We're getting pretty close. Alrighty, finished reinstalling all the tubes. Reinstall the high voltage generator. I'm going to leave the shield off for now because I want to observe it. And I have the 2 chassis connected together. I left the speaker off for now, so I don't want to risk damaging it. We'll hook it back up after we do our initial power up, which is what we're about to do right now. And I am going to grab a fluorescent bulb, because if this is working, this bulb should light up. Okay, let's see, let's put this in amp mode. Turn the set on. Here we go. Well, that was inauspicious. Alright, so power goes into this chassis and the switch is in this chassis. So I wonder, I replace the 2 safety caps on the AC line. When in doubt, just check the simple things first. Maybe this cheater cord isn't making good contact. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, let's get a different one. It's new old stock, but it's got some flashing plastic around the brass connections on this. And it's not making good connection to the terminals in the back of the chassis. Alright. All the tubes are illuminated. Tubes are conducting, current draw is rising. Ooh, you can see the high voltage rectifier going. So the filament on the high voltage rectifier is glowing. It's something you don't often get to see because they're usually enclosed. So if that's glowing, that's that guy right there. If that's glowing, we have to have high voltage because it draws its filament supply from the high voltage oscillator. So, oh yes, wow, you got high voltage plenty. So why isn't this lit up? Well, maybe I just don't have the brightness turned up. I do not know Not sure what controls what, but I'm going to guess that's brightness. So we have no deflection. Well, sorry, we have horizontal deflection, we don't have vertical deflection. But that's good. That's a fantastic first power up. A million things could have gone wrong. Especially happy about the high voltage generator. There are a whole bunch of controls on the back. I don't know what's what. One of these will be vertical something or another. Ooh. Cool. Now I was expecting it to look like hell because I have the shield off. Here's a better look at it. This type of RF high voltage oscillator puts out an incredible amount of noise. You have to have that shield on it. Every screw fastened down as best you can. Especially when it's right next to the CRT. And I also don't have a shield on the CRT because I took it off while cleaning this set up. That is awesome. I have the cabinet right next to me. Let's see what controls they want. Okay, that's what I figured. Contrast, brightness, channel selector, volume. There's no fine tuning on this set. So yeah, not quite as bright as I'd like it to be, but it's early days. I'm not even feeding a signal into this, so it could get brighter with a proper signal applied to it. Okay, well, what next? Well, since, I mean, hey, it's up and running and current draw is very reasonable, we're going to put the shield back on, we're going to reconnect the speaker, we're going to feed a signal into this set. Okay, here we go. Speaker reinstalled, shield over the high voltage, test pattern generator hooked up on channel 4. I'm not sure what channel this is set to. Still a lot of interference. I didn't put the screws on this box. I just put it over the top. Well, maybe we're receiving a test pattern. It is a crosshatch pattern. Ooh, that's not a good sign. Tuner not doing anything. Oh, okay, there's a stop, so that must be 13. So 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. I'm injecting on channel 4. I don't see anything, do you? Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, but that's good. So there's a separate wire that connects the video between the two. So at least we know that there is a signal going from one chassis to the other. Just doing, always start with the simplest stuff, wiggle the tubes. Let's try a different test pattern, see if... No. Try different channels. I'm on 3. So 2, 3. It should be right here. Yeah, no, I don't think this tuner is working. One way to tell for sure, well, one, I can disconnect my signal source. So disconnected it, reconnected it, did nothing. Can also just pop out the local oscillator tube. Yeah, nothing. Well, nuts. Tuners are not the easiest thing to troubleshoot. I'll just leave these shields off. The tubes are glowing. Oh, yeah, sound. It's barely a little hiss if I put my ear right next to it. Well, that's interesting. So contrast. Well, it's noisy, but at least it's causing some reaction on the set. That's a good thing. Alright, let the troubleshooting commence. Hey, check this out. I was about to turn the set off and start digging into it when I noticed something. Turn the lights off. So we have all our new shields here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tubes in a row, right? I see glow, glow, no glow, 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 glow. 6AL5 is a little hard to see. The third 6AG5, I don't see any glow. Let's pop that shield off. This guy, there's no glowage. Now there is. So was it just we couldn't see it because of the shield? Yeah, you know. Ah, well. Yeah. Oh, wait. Hang on. Something was amiss. Ooh. Alright, let's get this camera back on the tripod. So the first thing I like to do is verify, am I actually receiving the signal that I'm putting into it? So I'm going to disconnect it. So even with no signal, oh wait, hang on. Okay, yes. So that is the signal I'm feeding in. However, I'm feeding in channel 3, I'm not on channel 3. I'm pretty sure this is, let me double check the cabinet. Some of these early sets are kind of goofy. It goes counterclockwise, are you kidding me? Oh, I'm so glad I looked at that. Alright. 2. This is channel 3. Assume nothing with these early sets. The numbers go counterclockwise. Of course they do. Because why wouldn't they? Alright, so back of the set. There's got to be a horizontal hold and a vertical hold back here. Well, that's probably height. That could be hold. I'm fitting in a circle pattern right now. It's acting like horizontal centering, but I think that's horizontal hold. Here's its size. Yeah, I gotta look up what these controls do. But yeah, we're definitely not syncing up too well on anything here. Alright, here's a little bit more info. I went through and adjusted and figured out what controls are the horizontal size and hold and vertical size and hold. And got everything centered and focused. Got a nice 4:3 aspect ratio. I'm not feeding a signal right now. And we are getting this very distinct vertical bar pattern. Now that's with the high voltage shield in place. Now, no, I don't have all the screws holding it in. But and I will put more screws into it, but that's leaking in really badly. I also don't have the shield in the CRT, so maybe those are causing so much interference. It's why I can't view my image. And as I change channels, there's no change with those interference patterns at all. So I think I really need to address this before I worry about trying to receive an image, because this seems to be such a strong interference pattern coming in. It could very well just swamp out any video signal that's coming through. So let's figure out where the heck is this coming from. So I mentioned there's a video signal that goes between the two chassis, but if I take that out, it's still there. So I really think it's isolated to the CRT chassis. Oh man, would you believe it? Would you believe it? Just before I was gonna disconnect the chassis and go digging under, I noticed this tube was not lit up. I thought it was at first because a reflection on the tubes next to it made it look like it was glowing orange, but it's cold. Man, I know the tube is good, but could have a bad socket connection. Well, it's a 686. I have plenty of spare, so let's just try popping in a different one. I would not do this on a series strung set, just pop a tube out while the set's on, but on a parallel set, when the tube wasn't lit up anyways, I don't seem like it's going to do any harm. Oh yeah, that's lighting up. So, guess what tube that is? The sync separator. Of course it is. So, did that do anything for us? Let's find out. It looks like we're receiving something, so when I go off channel, the interference pattern changes. So let's try messing with the control. So this is horizontal hold. Oh yeah. You see that? I'm using a circle pattern with a square around it. So it looks like a horizontal lock. Vertical size. Let's get the horizontal size scrunched down a bit too. And no, I guess that's vertical hold and that's vertical size. Hey! Turn the brightness down. Because I guess this is possibly the brightest 7JP4 I've ever encountered. Well, it's not pretty, but yeah. Contrast turned up a bit. Let's tweak that horizontal hole. Alrighty. Turn down the brightness a bit. We got something. Again, there's no fine tuning in this set, so I guess you have to adjust those channel slugs. I'm hoping all this interference we can solve by, again, going over that high voltage box. I have about half of the screws in because a bunch were missing when I got this set, so I did what I could. Let's try some other patterns. So, yeah, it's far from perfect, but because all that interference looks like it's horizontal and not vertical, it's really points to that high voltage box. Also, there's somebody else online restoring one of these, and his was missing the high voltage box entirely, and he had horrible interference patterns, and he cobbled together one of his own, and that sparked a lot of discussion about these sets and how important that shielding is. Oh yeah, and I don't have the shield in the CRT. So we do have some trouble syncing on the first few scan lines. But alright. I think it's a good time to end this. It's pretty late. I just couldn't sleep until I got something on the screen. So that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching. We'll pick up with more troubleshooting, installing a shield, and trying to tweak this set to get the best picture we can.